Welcome to the European Parliamentary Research Service podcasts.
The European Commission wants to scale up manufacturing of clean technologies in the EU to make sure we are well equipped for the green transition and cut dependencies from third countries. Want to know how the proposed Net Zero Industry Act may help achieve this? Stay with us.
The EU aims at becoming climate neutral by 2050, but the road to net zero means we'll be needing a whole range of new clean technologies across our economy.
Talk heat pumps, solar panels, wind turbines, electrolyzers and fuel cells, CO2 storage, grid technologies or batteries. Demand for these key technologies will peak. So where are we going to get them from?
Well, that's the whole point. According to the International Energy Agency, the annual market for key mass-manufactured clean energy technologies could reach over €600 billion by 2030. More than triple today's levels, and related jobs could rise to 14 million compared to 6 million today.
The scale of the opportunity is clear for all to see. The problem is that today, around 90% of mass manufacturing capacity for several key clean energy technologies is located in China and the Asia-Pacific region.
So to get ahead of the competition and cut dependencies for key products, the European Commission has adopted several plans and pieces of legislation to strengthen the EU's industrial base and its competitive edge. One of the latest is the Net Zero Industry Act proposed in March 2023. Let's hear Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
The new Net Zero Industry Act will identify clear goals for European clean tech by 2030. The aim will be to focus investment on strategic projects along the entire supply chain. We will especially look at how to simplify and fast-track the permitting process for clean tech production sites.
The proposed act aims at strengthening the resilience and competitiveness of net zero technologies manufacturing in the EU and making our energy system more secure and sustainable.
The idea is to create better conditions to set up net zero projects in Europe and attract investments to ensure that by 2030, the EU would be able to domestically produce at least 40% of its needs for 8 key technologies to achieve its climate and energy targets. So, how is that going to work?
One of the key aspects of the proposed act is to cut red tape and make it easier for manufacturers of clean energy technologies to obtain permits. In addition, the Act proposes to give priority to so-called net zero strategic projects that concern one of the 8 key technologies identified and ensure they benefit from shorter permitting timelines and streamlined procedures.
The Act also sets an EU-level target to reach an annual injection capacity of CO2 of at least 50 million tonnes by 2030.
With this, the European Commission hopes to remove a major barrier to developing CO2 capture and storage as an economically viable climate solution, in particular for hard-to-abate energy-intensive sectors.
Another key action of the proposed Act is to facilitate access to markets for net zero technologies by obliging public authorities to consider sustainability and resilience criteria for such technologies in public procurement and auctions.
But most of all, we'll need people who can do these new jobs. That's why the European Commission is proposing to set up net zero industry academies to make sure that we train these future professionals to the same standards.
To promote innovation, the proposed Act would allow EU countries to establish regulatory sandboxes to test innovative net zero technologies before they're placed on the market, paying special attention to the needs of small and medium-sized companies.
In terms of governance, a Net Zero Europe platform would help the European Commission and EU countries to coordinate actions and exchange information, including around industrial partnerships and alliances to produce these new technologies. Representatives of the European Parliament would also be able to attend meetings of this platform.
But business organisations regret the limited scope and ambition of the proposed Act, as well as the lack of additional funding.
Orgalim, which represents Europe's technology industries, believes that to succeed in reaching net zero while preserving Europe's competitiveness, a more comprehensive approach is needed. We spoke to the Director General, Malte Lohan.
To massively scale up clean tech made in Europe, two things are crucial. First, NZIA needs to cover all enabling technologies and their value chains. Energy efficiency and electrification have a huge role to play. Second, the EU needs to reduce the regulatory burden on manufacturers.
But NGOs, such as the WWF, fear the EU is catching up on green tech at the risk of unnecessary damage to nature and biodiversity. Here's Camille Maury, Senior Policy Officer on Industry Decarbonisation at the WWF's European Office.
In order for the Net Zero Industry Act to be successful, it is key to have a balanced approach between industrial production, competitiveness, environmental protection, and public participation. The Net Zero Industry Act must only support the deployment of manufacturing capacity of key green technologies that will help the EU achieve its 2030 targets, such as the production of solar panels, batteries, wind farms, and electrolyzers for renewable hydrogen production.
What's clear is that the world is entering a new age of clean technology manufacturing, and if the EU wants to jump on that train, it'll need to seriously boost its industrial capacity and innovation potential.
Want to know more? Check out Guillaume Raguenaud's full policy brief on the EPRS website or in our app.
This is a European Parliamentary Research Service podcast.
Thanks for listening.